Hello, my fellow brunchettes. Hello, darlings. How is everyone? Good. Oh my goodness. Happy Sunday, happy brunch. We have a lot to talk about. Take a seat. Looks like it's going to be a very interesting lunch. What are y'all thinking? Think it'll be an interesting brunch today? We're hoping. I gotta get that turned around. Oops. That's not right. I gotta fix that. Oh, look at my crystal ball. It looks lovely. But we've got to get rid of the camera mirror. That's what we have to do. Okay, that's right. Okay. How is everybody? Yeah, a lot going on, huh? You having a good week, everybody? Did you have a good week? Ready to start the new week? Yeah? Is that what's happening? Are we starting a new week, a new day, a new dawn, as they say? Yeah. A lot of crazy stuff coming out, a lot of purification, right? This is the time of purification. We talked about that. Okay, just taking care of the second camera here so you all will be able to enjoy the card readings we're going to give you today. It's always nice when you can see the reading, isn't it? You like that, right? Okay, let's talk. So, as people file in here, my name is Whimsy. I am your oracle for hire. Despite the joking, I am a trained remote viewer and naturopathic doctor and medical intuitive. That is what I actually trained to do, and I've been working as a remote viewer professionally since 1996. So, God, I guess that would be 30 years. I remember the first offices I worked at, I was working out of a spa. It was in Monroe, New York. Yeah, it was a lot of fun doing card readings, doing a little remote viewing. And yeah, that was how I got started. Of course, with YouTube, now you can connect with a lot more people. So that's really cool. So tell us where you're coming from, what you eating, what you're drinking. Has anybody here gotten stuck in the bombs Cyclops? Is that, what are they calling it? It's like this blizzard that's hitting parts of the East Coast. Is that correct? I think the Carolinas got hit. Is that right? Any of y'all from in the Carolinas right now? Are you guys okay? I felt like New England was going to get hit really hard this year, all the way up into New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. I was just feeling this blizzard coming over. I was doing the scanning technique. We've talked about that, where I imagine myself floating and getting pulled by emotions and going into the future and feeling. It's a pretty cool. You're like a feather, like Forrest Gump. You just let yourself float and you see what you feel or sense as you float over the earth. But what I felt when I focused on the weather was I felt this cold blizzard come up like a wind, and the wind had blown a hole through the snow, and it was just like the polar. It was like the North Pole, and it had gone. The winds were going all the way up, and the vision was it went all the way up into New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, all the way up Lapland. Just like it was like all this icy cold. And I remember thinking when I was having the vision of what this winter will be like, thinking to myself, oh my goodness, as a remote viewer, I don't think I've ever seen something like this before. It was so cold in my remote view that things became brittle and they began cracking. sometime around mid-February, mid to late. I felt things got so, it was at the point where things actually started to crack. I guess they had lost all of their, all the moisture. Liam and his father. Who's Liam? The only Liam I know is Liam Neeson. Oh, you were stuck for a week in Virginia? I think Virginia is one of the hard ones that it's going to be hard hit, right? New England, Southeast New England had zero weather yesterday. Oh my gosh. Below zero, below. Yeah. You guys, it's going to get worse. I don't know what to do with this information. I think sometime around February 9th is when it's really going to get scary. So if you can spend a couple weeks in Mexico, it might be a good idea. Or if you can just get out of that, something cheaper, maybe go down to Florida. Though I don't think that would be cheaper. I think in many ways it's cheaper to fly to Mexico and get an Airbnb somewhere. And just if you are a person who's working from home, then you may just want to get a round trip ticket and go someplace like Puerto Rico for 6 weeks or whatever. It's not particularly expensive. I like Puerto Escondida. That's a nice place to get an Airbnb, a room, $600 a month. You're paying an extra $600 to get away from all that horror for 6 weeks. I would seriously consider doing that. Right here, the weather's, not bad. I'm in Portland, Oregon, so it's just a different situation. So yeah, I'm a little worried for you guys that are in those areas. If you are alone, it would be great to know that you guys have some way of reaching out and getting help should something happen. But I can tell you, I don't know, I just can tell you as many ways as I can tell you that it's going to get a lot worse, and that it will become extremely bad the second week of February. So, if you are on the East Coast and you can, go somewhere warm, I think you should do it. Yeah. If you're alone and you don't have anyone to help you in the event of an emergency, then I think that has to get taken care of, because, can you survive if it's minus 10 degrees if your power goes out? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, how can I serve? Just in terms of just giving you the message and hoping that people are like, okay, now we know February is going to be worse, and we know which areas are going to get hit, and parts of the Midwest also are going to get hit pretty hard. So you may just choose, if you can afford to do so, to, maybe take the Winnebago and go to Arizona for a couple weeks. Whatever you can do to get away from that, if you feel like it, if you're at risk. Yeah. All right, let's see what's going on with you, what you eating, what you drinking, where you coming from, how are you all doing? Much gratitude to all of you for being here. We have a new book of the month. I don't know what happened to it. As many of you know, Chuck and I started a Book of the Month Club a couple years ago. It's called the Taco Tuesday Book of the Month Club. And this month we have selected Rainbow Weather as our Book of the Month, stories about beautiful West Cork, Ireland, Western Ireland in Cork. I've been to Cork. I love Cork. Cork is awesome. But in general, Ireland is a magical place. Hopefully, we will be able to have Kat Coach in our studios at the end of February. We're just working out the logistics because she actually lives in South Africa right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can arrange that interview because she is ahead of us 10 hours. So if we interview her at 6 o'clock, it would be like 2:30 in the morning or something. I don't know. All right. Well, I want you to come together with me, all you Liebschkins. Whoops. Up, up, up. Somebody had asked me about my salt and pepper. Yes. Well, the salt and pepper is here because when I go to, it's spices, because when I am invited to a brunch, I like to, bring my accoutrements, in case I need to add a little, spice to whatever the dish is. I bring my own. Yes. No, I'm an herbalist, so these are my herbs. Somebody had asked about that. Not salt and pepper. I believe these are more like oregano and that sort of thing. All right. We have a new member. Let's go ahead and give our warmest welcome to Lennar Liz-666. Lunar Liz-66. Lunar Liz-66. We welcome you. We welcome you to the Oracle of Whimsy. Thank you. Thank you for your membership. It is much appreciated. Oh, because they don't want to accept the fact that they've already lost the war and Putin is on thin ice. Let's face facts. Trump no. It's not up to Trump. It was decided a long time ago. It was decided under the Obama administration, if you really want to know the truth. We tried to work out a deal for them not to go nuclear and to not attack Israel and to not disrupt the Middle East. Yeah. We gave them a bunch of money and they used it to fund Hezbollah and Hamas terrorizing people in Gaza and Israel. So they had their chance with the Iran deal and they blew it. And so I think even Obama would say now, Obama who took Libya out because of this sort of thing. Of course, we tried. We thought that Iran would be reasonable, but Iran is not reasonable. So anybody read Obama's last book, his memoirs about his presidency? Yeah, so things got worse. He was one of the great diplomats that tried to get Khomeini to act like a human being, and it did not work. So I think the intelligence agencies came to the realization that that the world is facing an existential crisis with Khomeini and an existential crisis with Putin. And because we're facing an existential crisis, the only logical thing to do when you put emotion aside, and human beings are very emotional, but the only logical thing to do, if you look at it just as pure math, which is what we've tried to do as remote viewers, one of the things I try to do as a remote viewer, people tell me not to be biased, that is the purpose of remote viewing, is for me to not be in my emotional body. When you practice heart-centered remote viewing, it's a 5-step process. And the first step is you have to ground yourself, you set and setting, get yourself into a good state and ground yourself and try and see things objectively outside of your own bias. Otherwise, you'll never be a good remote viewer. You'll always be putting your own 2 cents in. You're always looking at pure math, action, reaction. You're always trying to stand back and look at things as objectively as possible. And as a remote viewer, when I looked at things objectively and saw the function of the Iran government was to take over the world, and that they were never going to leave Lebanon alone. They were never going to leave Lebanon alone. They were never going to leave Syria alone. They were never going to leave Gaza alone. They were never going to leave the West Bank alone. They were never going to leave Israel alone. They were never going to leave Iraq alone. Pakistan, that deals with Pakistan. So the only rational conclusion was that their government had to be dismantled because they were an existential threat. And not only were they an existential threat, but they were moving towards nuclear weapons. They were becoming more violent. It wasn't bad enough that they were terrorizing everybody in their own country and anybody around them, everybody in their country and around them. They were looking to take over more space, terrorizing more people. So the pure math is that Iranian leadership will be dismantled. So, and the longer we wait, the closer we get to nuclear war. That is the math. So if that's the math, we all know the decision the West made. You see how this works? We tried under Obama. I know you don't want to go to war. I understand. And Obama understands. And Biden understands. They tried so hard. They tried so hard not to get to where we're at right now with Iran. But they would probably be the first to admit that we need to do this. We need to just finish this. So that is phase 5. We will see the dismantling of Iranian leadership. We will see a ceasefire in Gaza. Complete. The ceasefires happen. After the ceasefire, we will see an exchange of hostages for Hamas prisoners. That's completed. In the third phase, we will start the rebuild of Gaza. Now, there are 2 rebuilds. There's the rebuild that's happening inside Gaza, which can't happen as long as Hamas is there, so Hamas has to leave. Hamas is a proxy army of Iran, which is holding the people of Gaza hostage, basically. So the second rebuild is the new Gaza, which is not dependent on an Iranian terrorist group, and that happens in the perimeter. And it's the new Gaza that people are focused on. And people have said, well, we don't like the new Gaza. We want to go live on the Riviera. Well, part of the new Gaza does take place on the Mediterranean. But what I want people to understand with the new Gaza is that, let me see if I can get you guys some pictures. You kind of have to also ask, why is Elon making fun of Donald Trump and saying, oh, yeah, you have a peace group, right? It's a piece of Gaza, a piece of Venezuela, a piece of Greenland. So why is Elon Musk so cheeky? Because Elon Musk invested in the new Gaza, the red dots, which is not taking place inside Gaza at all. So he can't be accused of taking anybody's land. I didn't take anybody's land. This is no man's land this is the perimeter that was set by Gaza and Israel as no man's land between these 2 enemy states, right? Hamas and Israel. That's the no man's land. So who's going into no man's land to the wild, wild west when we stroll into the wild, wild west, right? Actually, it's the eastern side of Gaza, I believe. Is Elon Musk. You can see he's invested in those red dots. And that is the rebuild that's taking place outside Gaza that's not dependent on Hamas, right? So that's why Elon can be arrogant about that, right? All right, so you saw the little bubble, the little red bubbles? Yeah. Here's what one unit looked like. This is one oasis zone. We know that there'll be at least 5 of them, and these are places where people can go who don't want war. And you can see that the land is shared between the 2 countries. And this is the new Gaza. And so they keep Gaza. The Gazans keep Gaza. But in addition to that, in addition to them getting Gaza, they also get to have these really cool bubbles that join them with Israel that are peace zones. And then they will have their own transportation system as well, joining those bubbles. So I think that a lot of people didn't understand what the Oasis rebuild of Gaza was. And I think they were a little confused that it was that land was being taken or that people in Gaza were. But no, this is a program that's being developed on the periphery in lands that no one's living on, that would actually give the people of Gaza twice as much land. Yeah, so it's actually really liberating. So we are trying to get a land donation in Rafah from Egypt and land donations from Israel on the eastern side. So these are the zones, and you can see from the picture that Elon has invested in zones 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2. Elon has. The Palestinian towns and villages that will be coming in those areas, which will be shared land. The land will be shared with peace activists. So that is what they're starting in the new Gaza, shared land for peace activists and nonviolent persons. Many of the Israelis that will be moving in are actually Palestinian Israelis. Yeah, Palestinian Israelis. So that is what we're starting now, and that is phase 3. Trump wants to take Gaza, and that's why people are laughing at him. And it's just never, and we knew it wasn't going to happen, which is why we built the new Gaza. Because we're smart. All right. So phase 4, Putin is likely going to be arrested. He will either be under house arrest in Russia, or they will get hands on him when he leaves Russia, which is probably why he's in semi-hiding right now, because evidently he got wind of the 5 phases that were basically accepted by Western intelligence at this point. You guys want to talk about it? Oh, you're so clever, Elon. You're so clever. You're so witty. You're so clever. And you're not hanging out at Epstein's parties, right? He was one of the people that got named, right? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so the only thing that Russia wants is to win, because if they don't win, they know what's coming. And what's coming is the end of Putin and his regime. No, we talked about that. Iran is finished. That's the math. You can't change the math, and it's not up to Trump. And Biden went with the math. We know that Biden accepted it because Biden openly acknowledged the first 3 phases, and they were known as Biden's phases, and then they were adopted by Trump after that. And then we saw the fall of Syria. And that's the point at which Netanyahu told Iran, you see what's coming? So, I'm sorry, I can't find my tissue. So we already know from the fall of Syria, Assad, where'd my tissue go? And we already know from that, from the fall of Syria, that Iran is going to be falling. Yeah. We could have probably made a deal with Assad. That's the great irony. We could have probably made a deal with Assad. He was very close to cutting a deal with the Israelis. And had he done that, it would have been economically really great for Syria. They really could have used, mutual tourism and driving back and forth. You know what that would do economically for Syria if they would stop this, trying to drive the Jews into the sea? If they would just make peace. Unfortunately, now the head of Syria is an ISIS. ISIS. He's an ISIS leader, and he's been running around killing al-Wadis, killing non-Muslims, his people, all over Syria. So Syria is still in the middle of a pretty brutal civil war. We've really eroded NATO. We've really eroded NATO, and that's what it looks like to me as a remote viewer, is that this is bad because of economic, the fact that we don't have any money. We don't have money to fund wars. Is that what we're saying? We made a fortune off these wars. But the feeling of this administration is, we don't want to join every war that NATO is in. We'll let you know. It's kind of like cherry picking our wars. Well, we want to be in that war because it profits us, but we don't want to be in that war. No, you have to be in every war. You're a NATO ally. No, we don't want to do that. Instead, we'll be supportive of NATO. And you can call us, but it would probably be better if you called somebody else. That's kind of what it's looking like. So if a NATO country gets attacked, say there's military action against Poland, right? That's a NATO country, so we would be obligated to help our NATO allies. But if we're not part of NATO anymore, it's like we can choose to opt out of that war. So we want to cherry pick the wars, and that's basically what it looks like to me as a remote viewer. And for that reason, I think NATO's in trouble. Yeah. And the feeling that they're giving here is that we don't need NATO anymore because the Nazis are gone. Right? So we don't have Nazis anymore. So we can just get rid of NATO. Yeah, pretty crazy. It's looking increasingly like the only thing that's happening is that Russia is a dying bear. It's an old, dead bear, dying bear that will not give up this fight. It's just, and if you really care about Russia, you will end this war. If you're somebody that's involved, you will do what you can to end this war, because if it continues to drag on, there isn't going to be a Russia. That's kind of what it looks like. It's possible that U.S. troops will be based there, or NATO will be based there, in keeping with what Zelensky had requested, which was to create an oasis zone in those areas under U.S. or NATO military control, so that, and share it as an oasis zone, just like the oasis zones that are being built in between Gaza and Israel, which will be mixed. It will be Israelis and Gazans and Europeans and Middle Eastern, anybody who's involved in the peace movement, building the peace movement, building the program, will be part of the new Gaza. And it's an exciting experiment into going back to the days of old. We're going back to the days of old. So if you're asking what the vision was, when I was developing the oasis for the rebuild of Gaza, I had sent it to the Israelis, and it was I had geo-mapped 6 zones, if you include a donation from Egypt. And then I discovered that almost an identical oasis zone was discovered in Saudi Arabia. That was 4,000 years old with the same exact structure, 6 oasis zones connected by a transportation system. It was 14.5 kilometers long. And what's interesting is that it really does remind me of Gaza. You know, it really does remind me of the new Gaza. It's as if it's as if we're doing this again. And I think that these types of peace zones, which were created by the Bedouin, it was invented and created by the Bedouin people, as places of peace and commerce where we can all go and do business and live peacefully and share the land. This concept of peaceful commerce and trade in oasis zones, which was live and let live, right? You can have any religion you want, LGBTQ friendly. It's a safe zone, right? So I think it's very exciting that we're looking at these old models as an anthropologist, as a peace activist. I think it's exciting that we're looking at these old models. I'm very optimistic that we're looking at these old models. These were the first democracies too. And I think it's really exciting that they're talking about creating these same models in other parts of the world, like in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They work. They work. We have to protect the oasis zones. We have to protect our resources and create safe zones for people. China Xi has arrested their top generals recently. Well, I don't think that she's going to survive. We can go ahead and throw cards on it. But Xi's father was arrested by the communists. You know, I'm surprised that he was able to move as far into the party as he did, given his own history. Wow. Oh, Bruce Springsteen, The Streets of Minneapolis. Really? Oh my gosh, I do have to see that. You know, I was watching that song by Matisyahu, One Day, by Matisyahu. Have you guys heard One Day? Oh my God, I was crying. It was so beautiful. I'd show it to you guys, but I'm not allowed to show it. We don't have permission to show it. It's too bad. Yeah, check out One Day by Matisyahu. Beautiful song. Yeah. I'll work on it and I'll sing it for you guys one of these days. I'm not there yet. I don't think so. I think that the fall of Iran is inevitable. I think that we had no choice. It was something that was not entered into lightly. I think that had Biden stayed and been reelected, we'd be exactly where we're at right now, only with a strong commitment to NATO. At the same time, we have to look at our economics and the stranglehold that the American aristocracy has in this country, where they just will not pay taxes. They want to go to their wild parties and do whatever the hell they want. They feel entitled. And the rest of us can clean up the mess. And it's a huge mess because they've given all of our money, trillions, to their friends for contracts in DC for things we didn't even want, a bunch of crap we never asked for. That's what they did with our money. You know, unlimited cup of soup, you know, like the kind of thing you really need. Unlimited cup of soup, just add hot water. Unlimited soap on a rope, you know, like that's what every serviceman needs, soap on a rope. Yeah. We've heard your demands and we're answering them. Everybody gets soap on a rope and cup of soup, just add hot water. So those are the kinds of contracts that we're paying for. We're paying. Oh, I'm a lobbyist. I got you. Okay, I want $100,000. I want $1 million. I want $1 million for. I can sell soap on a rope. Okay, good. You got it. Soap on a rope. Well, I want a contract. I make dish towels. Okay, they're $15 a pop. But okay, you get a contract. You get a contract. We all get a contract. Well, there's no money left. Yeah, because you all got a contract. But we don't need this crap. We don't need soap on a rope. We need affordable health care. Oh, well, those people didn't pay for my campaign. Soap on a rope is all the way. We're going all the way with, we got a concept here. We're going all the way with soap on a rope, right? So that's what happened to our money. You know, all the junk that comes in from Amazon that falls apart a week after you buy it, that's where your money went. It's that kind of, you look at Iraq, the billions that we just burned, that we borrowed from China to fund the war. And then we made a ton of money for our friends. They had McDonald's, they had Jack in the Box, they had Burger King. It was great. You went to U.S. Service locations and you had all these American junk food places. They had contracts with the U.S. government. So all our U.S. service people could have McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and all, you know, God-fearing country kind of food with heart disease and Jesus, right? Like, this is really what we need to be feeding our soldiers, right? This is what's good for America. No, you're just taking care of your friends. Right? So that's what we're dealing with. Soap on a rope. It's one of that was one of the contracts. My friends who were in the military back in the 80s showed me their soap on a rope. Look what we got. We all get soap on a rope. It was popular. I don't know. Will Syria's leader Jolani stay in power after his meeting with Putin? Jeez Louise. Oh my God. Putin ran. Putin can't deal with Syria. Putin's afraid for his own safety. That is crazy. I don't know. Let's go ahead and do the impasse prayer and we'll do some blitzes, but that's just crazy. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. Jeez Louise. Yes. And after he got back from Israel and he was wanting to do the rebuild, some assassins came from, I don't know, Iran wants to kill him. He's like, gee, I'll never take that trip again. Came and visited Israel, read some crazy lady's thesis on the rebuild of Gaza and said, that's a great idea, do that. Elon Musk is crazy enough to take me seriously. So what does that tell you about Elon Musk? Right? He's as crazy as I am. But I would not be going to those types of parties. I wouldn't be doing that. Can you imagine with his new wife, who's the sweetest woman in the world, Tallulah, and naive and sweet and young. She was a virgin when they married. She never had a boyfriend. She never had a serious relationship. He doesn't get her a single gift on Christmas because he's working. So he's never around. He shows up on Christmas and there's no presents. And then what's he doing? He's emailing Epstein about going to wild parties with Tallulah, his wife. And Epstein's like, are you sure you want to do that? You want to bring your wife? She might not like this, what we're going to be doing here, right? Imagine being married to somebody like that. wake up to no presents, guy's treating you like crap, and he wants to go to hang out with, I don't know. Yeah. According to Tallulah, she said that she was the one telling him, I want to meet this guy. I want to meet this guy. Why do you want to meet this guy? No, set it up. I want to meet this guy. This is what Tallulah says. And people said, well, why did you want to meet him? She said, I was writing a book and I was developing a character that was a psychopath. And I wanted to base it on Epstein. She's a writer. Tallulah became a writer. And so Tallulah was fascinated by Epstein. And so, according to her, she said it was her idea. And she was there when he met Epstein, supposedly because she was very British and fascinated by the dark aspects of Epstein. So that's kind of an interesting piece to it. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I guess that's she was curious. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do the empath's prayer. If you would like to be included, how did my candle go out? If you'd like to be included, give us your name or the name of the person you want us to pray for, and we will include you in our prayers today. I lost a candle. My candle went out. What did that? Oh my goodness, it's not lighting. Huh, that's weird. That's strange. Can't get my candle to light. There we go. That was strange. Okay, so if you guys are like me, you're kind of getting burned out by politics and the dark parts of the politics, right? So we're getting kind of all this stuff about Epstein and all these child abuse and all this other horrible stuff that we've been getting bombarded with. It's really, I'm just trying to get it nice for you guys. It really can take a toll on us. You know what I mean? I just don't know how much more of this I want to be focusing on. I feel like I want to change up my channel to, excuse me, it's me in my throat. I feel like part of me wants to change up my channel because I think all of this can be really bad for our mental health. You guys know what I mean? That we just talk about this stuff all the time. And oops, I just lost my, okay, there it is. I just think that it can be really damaging to our mental health to keep focusing on all this stuff all the time. And I just think there's more to life than sitting around thinking about psychopaths terrorizing the neighborhood. You know, it's like, I don't know. That's where your tax dollars went. Soap on a rope. Did we do the empath's prayer? I don't think we did. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say, Amen. For those of you today who are requesting a healing, we come together collectively at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And together again, collectively, we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. May all souls be healed. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I'm very grateful to you. Well, gosh, what are you thinking? You think we need to do some blitzes? Do we need to blitz away? Do we need to start with a general reading, a collective? I think that might help us ground. Would you all like to get your reading for the week? Yeah, would you like that? Okay, so this is a collective reading on the energy of of all of us for the coming week. If any part of this does not apply to you, yeah, PVD is caused by CHF, Irene. PVD can be secondary to CHF. If you have vascular disease, if your vascular is weak, it's often because of congestive heart failure. Okay, so so whatever doesn't apply to you, you can go ahead and pass it down to the person next to you, and because it is a smorgasbord. I got a great cup of coffee here. Hopefully you. Oh, look at that! I'm almost done with my coffee. Can you guys see the bottom of that? Yeah, it's almost done. All right, let's do this thing. God bless you all for being here. We are excited. Hi, Allison, over in Facebook. Hello to everybody over at Facebook. We've got a couple hundred people over there saying hi to us right now. Hi, Irene, over at Facebook. Good to see you. Spinach omelet. Very, very good. All right, where we are at right now, the base of the matter is there is intense grief. We see this as a time of grief. We've talked about grief and we've talked about purification, that this is a time of purification. Maybe we felt disappointed by how things have gone so far, that we're not happy with the current administration. We're not happy with the economy. There's a lot of things we're not happy about right now. So base card is when you look at what you've lost. And it can be a person who, this is certainly how I've been feeling. Oh my God, I'm 62 years old. I'm old. I'm going to die alone. Hi, Beth, over in Facebook. We got a ton of people over at Facebook. Carol, Beth, Margaret, good to see you all. This card that is our base right now. It's when a person cannot see their blessings. This is a big problem with me. Have you ever looked at how hard life is from people in many parts of the world? You probably have, right? Not that thinking about people who are suffering is going to necessarily make us feel better, because it just makes us depressed. Like, oh my God, people are suffering more than me. Oh my God, that's just making me more depressed now, right? But at the same time, a 5 of Cups is a person who may not recognize just how blessed and lucky they are. It's the cups that remain standing, Ring the bells that can still be rung. Do not worry about your imperfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in, right? So this ability to be able to see our blessings, and this ability to know how many wonderful things we have. I have a great apartment. My apartment is fantastic in Portland. It's an extremely large studio, 675 square feet studio, huge windows overlooking the greatest city, Portland, Oregon. I love my town. I got a gym. I've got a washer and dryer in the unit. Come on, man, you can't get better than that. I've got a dishwasher. I've got all of you, right? So there's so many things for us to be grateful for. So this is something I would meditate on this week is gratitude. And when you find yourself falling into that feeling a little bit of woe is me, the grief of the 5 of Cups, try and also take a moment to be grateful for the things you do have, to be able to read and write. Many people cannot read or write. The gratitude that comes with literacy and the gratitude to our teachers who taught us to read and write, right? There's so many things to be grateful for. Now, your karma card is something that we got to talk about because the karma card is Archangel Raphael. And Archangel Raphael comes as the Page of Cups. The archangels, the 4 archangels are seen in the pages. Pages are children. They can come as children, but they come as messengers, and they come as angels. And the Hebrew word for messengers is malachim, which is angel. So a messenger and an angel is the same thing. So when the messenger, the page messenger or angel comes, it is telling us to be gentle and kind to ourselves. And he often brings messages regarding health and healing. Raphael is the healer. All the angels heal. All angels heal. But Raphael is designated he is the archangel patron of doctors, for example. He guides me, for example. As a doctor, I went and bought a painting of Archangel Raphael to put in my offices so people could look at Raphael and get that beautiful energy, that beautiful vibration from the healing of Archangel Raphael. So be aware that now is the time to focus on your healing, focus on your mental well-being as well. Just like when I was in a bit of a funk today, like when I made the mistake of reading part of the Epstein files. I just like, man, this world, how can people do such terrible things to one another? And we all have to do our best to just be kinder, whatever your imperfections are. Like I have horrible social anxiety. I can talk about it. I suffer from social anxiety. And sometimes I become mean to people because I'm having a social anxiety issue, right? So I have to acknowledge that I have that issue, that I don't like to go out a lot. I don't like crowds. I get social anxiety, right? So I have to think, well, I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm going to be snapping or agitated or mean because people are not going to understand that I'm coming from a place of social anxiety, right? So just be mindful. Be mindful of how whatever your stuff is could be impacting the people around. We are far more connected than we realize. So if you're depressed, your dogs, your cats know it. They sense it. Mila will always copy me. My cat will always copy me. She will always imitate me. If I am upset and stomping around, she will get up and then she will start following me around. We're stomping now. If I have to get up and go to the bathroom, we're going to the bathroom now. She is such a great familiar. So just be aware also that you're healing yourself and you're taking care of yourself, not just for yourself, but because your unhappiness is impacting other people. So now is the time to focus a lot on your own health and well-being. Where you're at right now, you are dreaming. You are the one who dreams. We dream of better days, don't we? We dream of better days. The Queen of Cups is highly emotional. She rubs her lamp and she dreams. The crossing card is to learn to let things go. It is very difficult because sometimes I think of obsessive compulsive disorder also when I think about the Queen of Cups because she's dreaming. She's lost in the corridors of her mind and she could be fixating even. OCD, emotional challenges, neuroses, being neurotic. Those things are also part of the Queen of Cups. She's very neurotic, digestion, nausea, all of this. Like those are the emotional Queen of Cups who she's lost in her thoughts. And there's this feeling that we have to let things go a little bit and go where you will be happier. So it's the person who sits in a dirty, horrible house with horrible, rotten people and is depressed. I'm depressed. I don't want to clean. I don't want to do anything. I'm with these horrible people in this horrible situation. It's interesting. Spirit is saying, well, maybe you need to try another environment. Right? So you have Six of Swords, which is the ability to go to smoother waters. And the Chariot is to leave, let it all go and go somewhere else. It reminds me of the story of Abraham in the Bible. Abraham was living in Iraq, right? Sumer, Babylonia, right? And there was war going on and people were worshiping idols. And he thought, I don't want to be a part of war. I don't want to be a part of worshiping idols. And so he meditated and prayed, and his higher self, God or the higher self, said, you need to leave your family, leave your father's house, leave everything, and go to a land I'll show you. And so he moved to Beersheba. He moved to the Negev, and he had a very peaceful life there. They had a farm, right? He moved to a farm in the Negev, right? So sometimes you have to be like Abraham. They changed his name to Abraham, right? Father of a nation. So take away from this idea that if it is making you unhappy, let it go. And it may mean physically going, that you may physically have to go somewhere to get the happiness you seek, and to take the weapons of war away from, the enemy. So if the problem is the environment, change the environment. If the problem is the environment, change the environment. If the problem is a work environment, for example, or a relationship, but this idea that one leaves and goes to a smoother place, and one takes the weapons of war. The problem with escapism is that escapism can be procrastination. The problem with the Queen of Cups is she can sit and dream her life away. And this is dream time. It's the stories we read about in books like The Mist of Avalon, where people get carried off in the mist by the fairies, and they just dream like they're in an opium dream, and they wake up and 50 years have passed. So that's the energy you think about when you think of the Queen of Cups. It's like that fairy energy. She dreams and she rubs her lamp and the years pass. But she's not particularly happy. So she runs off into escapism because she's just not happy with her current life. And what the universe is saying is, to hell with the escapism. Why don't you just leave? If the weather sucks, if the apartment sucks, if the partner sucks, if the job sucks, this is about taking control and being able to just leave. Where you are at right now, the sun is coming up for you. So this is also a time in your life when you may start feeling that you're starting to figure things out. Like, despite how depressed I am, and despite the fact that I'm upset about the crazy president, in a way, I feel like I'm starting to finally figure things out. Like, I don't have to hang out with you, even if you are my relative. You're a jerk. I'm leaving, right? Nobody gets to have access to you that doesn't treat you like a person. I get dibs. I get dibs to smack so-and-so around because I'm her older sister, brother, cousin, uncle, nephew, twice removed. It doesn't matter, right? If you're not happy, you have the right to leave. Go where you are treated best, as nomad capitalists would say. So the sun is coming out over you, and this is a time when you may start to feel like you're starting to get some answers. You don't want to fall into your bitterness. We all know the old cranky woman or the old cranky man. Get off my lawn, right? We don't want to be that person. We want to be in optimism. We want to be the old woman. Well, she wasn't really that old. That's Catherine O'Hara, right? Never said a bad word about her parents. Never said a bad word about anybody. And you know she probably had a hard childhood. She was the sixth of 7 children, a strict Irish Catholic family. And you know they probably were tough with her. Never said a single bad word about her parents ever. Never said a single bad word about anyone she's ever worked with professionally. She was always light and breezy, and Catherine was always making you laugh, right? She was always top of the morning to you. She was always trying to be up, up, up. I have a moral responsibility. I'm in front of the camera. I have a moral responsibility to lift you up, lift you up, lift you up, right? That's the Tao of Catherine O'Hara. The camera's on. How can I lift you up? How can I get you to shine? How can I get you to laugh, right? So we want to honor her life. She's just passed, but we also want to learn from her. You know, there's a reason why she was successful. There was a reason why she got the Order of Canada. You know, there's a reason why her friend, Eugene Levy, got the same award. These are good people that have struggled through their lives. They've had hard lives. They've had hardship. They've lost friends. They've known illness, etc. But they never lost their kindness, right? They always try to lift you up. It's like Eugene Levy. He struggled financially. He never made a lot of money. He was a Canadian comedian on Second City. They didn't have any money. He was always stressing about his mortgage, right? Oh God, can I make the bills? Can I make the bills? And then he got famous with American Pie, right? I remote viewed him. I wanted to get into his shoes. I wanted to know what it was to be Eugene Levy. And I was thinking to myself, I finally made it. I get to have that house. I don't have to stress about the mortgage. Then the Pasadena fires came, burned his house down. Well, I'm back where I started. C'est la vie. I'll work, you know, but you'll never know when you see a Eugene Levy film. He'll always be just like his sidekick, Catherine O'Hara, top of the morning to you, happy, ready to go, optimism, laugh, be positive. His house burned down. He lost it all. Well, he'd lost it before. He'll get it again. You know, just refusing that sun energy when it comes in. It is the person who understands the awesome responsibility of being alive and pulling other people up. And not just because you lost your house. I mean, I'm sorry your house burned down, or, you know, whatever. Catherine O'Hara, she was going through all kinds of crazy medical things she was going through and all kinds of stuff but she had in the forefront of her mind, I must, for the good of the planet, always focusing, how can I lift you up? This is my focus as an actor, as an entertainer. And I think that she worked so well with Eugene Levy because they both had that same awareness. We are here to do good in the world and to raise people up, like Schitt's Creek. So that is the situation that you find yourself in right now. You know what I'm saying? You can be that sun. You can go forward. You can go to the place where you're treated best. You don't need to stay and be abused. You just need to stop abusing yourself, whether you're doing it with substances or whether you're doing it with not eating right or exercising. And lift yourself up and lift others up. The opposition. There are people in this world that cannot stand the fact that you are happy. Maybe they don't like your house. Maybe they're jealous of your smile. Maybe there's, you know, I try to be positive, but I also can be very negative, horribly negative, right? So we all have that part of us that can be the Knight of Swords. You can be the Knight of Swords. I can be the Knight of Swords, which is unleashing the rage. Unleashing the rage. No, she wasn't married to Tim Burton. Tim Burton is married to Helene Carter, Bonham Carter. And I met her. I actually met her with her son, who's from India. I think, right? She adopted a son from India. He was in college and she was purchasing some stuff and I was assisting them. He's off to college and I've got to, get him his dental floss and all of that stuff. She was his go to college bag. I was helping prep. Good mother. See, that's a good person. Takes him shopping before he goes to college and makes sure he has all the floss he needs for the year. That's my inside story about Catherine O'Hara. Good person. Now, the other interesting thing is that I worked in Brentwood, Pharmaca Pharmacy in Brentwood, and she came in with her son, and we used to help her pack his going off to college bag. But that is down from Pasadena. That is just down from, Pacific Palisades, Pacific Palisades. So she was literally a couple miles from Eugene Levy. So they literally lived next door. They were two peas in a pod. They were buds. They were best buds. Yeah. So be optimistic. Be careful of the Knight of Swords. There are people and energies around you that could be wanting to pick a fight. Do not engage angry, violent, aggressive persons. Simply bless them and cross the street. You've got this energy around you. Now is not the time to engage it, but in yourself and with others. Hopes and fears that you be loved, that you have steady partnerships, that you know what it is to be truly loved, that you experience true love. And it comes first with the discipline of taking proper care of yourself and proper attitude, mind, body, speech. What comes out of your mouth and what goes in your mouth is what Kabbalah talks about. Many Kabbalists are vegans. They won't put any dead animals in their bodies. Veganism's become very popular amongst Kabbalists in Israel. 10% of Israel is vegan. Israel is a nation of what's the word I'm looking for? It's a nation of conflict, but it's also a nation of contrast, where you'll have the most holy, amazing people, and then you'll have the most awful people, right? You'll meet terrorists, but then you'll also meet these saintly vegan rabbis that are praying by a rock for world peace, like Matisyahu, right? So, guys all heard that song by Matisyahu? Yeah, very good. So, what's it called? Love Someday? One Day by Matisyahu. Check it out. One Day by Matisyahu. So your final outcome is King of Swords, which is that now is the time for you to be strong and disciplined in your life. Give an account and a reckoning, always an account and a reckoning. What is it you're trying to achieve? What is your mission in life? If you're not sure, chant often, pray often. Yeah, Matisyahu, Rabbi, he was in rabbinical school for a while. He was becoming a rabbi. Yeah. Yeah, Jewish mystic, right? So King of Swords comes to tell you discipline. Yeah. This is saying be careful that the toxic energy is still there. I'm a little concerned crafting and conjuring with that Knight of Swords. But it's also that our country is just in a really crazy place right now. If you stay on the positive, if you stay on the straight and narrow, if you are about your business, if you start with what goes in your body, remember, just keep kosher, right? Keep kosher. Those laws are there for a reason, right? Um, well, pigs are like children. They have the intelligence of a 5-year-old child. You want to murder something that's looking at you like a 5-year-old child. Don't kill me. And then you're eating it and it's got the genetics like your kid. No, that's why we don't eat pigs. It's like chewing on your own finger. Um, but a lot of people will just go pure vegan because it does have an impact on if you can keep your amino acids up, I think it's great. But it's this idea that it's impacting everything. But you're entering into a time of intense discipline, and the final outcome is that from that discipline will come great peace and harmony. 10 of Cups. Just stay on your path. And that is your reading. I hope it gave you some comfort. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up the floor to blitzes. If anybody has a question, we can blitz away. I'm going through a Jewish identity crisis. I'll be going honest with you. Anybody here Jewish going through an identity crisis like me? Please, we should go for coffee and cry about it because I love my country, Israel. I love my country. I love my country. I'm an Israeli. I love my country, but I'm not happy with what my country's doing, and I'm not happy with the prime minister. And just like you're not happy as Americans with your president, right? I'm a dual citizen, so I guess he's my president. I didn't vote for this guy. I'm not the same. In the same way, I'm heartbroken about what I see happening in Israel. So how do we be a force for good in the world? That's the only thing we can be focusing on, is how can we take care of ourselves, be positive, be loving people, and try to be like Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy. Just as she said, he's a gentleman. That's what she said about Eugene Levy. He's a gentleman. Always kind, always sweet, never mean to anybody, right? How can we be more like that? All right. So when we get the order to blitz away, we will blitz away. And yeah, I got dual citizen. I'm going through stuff. I love my family. I love my friends in Israel, but this religious crazy. I mean, things have gotten really crazy over there. There are people walking around in burqas. It's becoming increasingly crazy. Jerusalem. I saw people walking, Jewish people in burqas. There are many Orthodox sects that are now calling for women to return to burqa. And that is what they are doing. And you are not to sing. I am not permitted to sing in the company of men. And if you sing out loud in a public place like Jerusalem, you could be accosted physically. You could be physically struck, punched in the face, or hit. You could be assaulted. Women are to be seen. Well, they're not even supposed to be seen. They want you in burqas now. We are to sit in the back of the bus if we are not accompanied by a male relative. Mm-hmm. That's what's starting to happen in Israel. We go to the back of the bus. Mm-hmm. Jim Crow law. Now, this is being held by the state of Israel says absolutely not. You can't do that. But that is what people have started doing. And the liberal, sane, national you don't have 10 kids. And the religious extremists are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it's just Israel has become religious extremist everywhere. It's terrifying. It's just terrifying. It's just not my world. It's not my world. All right. Will, I was raised liberal. I was raised in Portland, Oregon. Rabbi Rose. I bought mitzvah with Rabbi Rose. Temple Beth Israel. Temple Beth Shalom and Temple. This temple, that temple. Temple Beth, was it Temple Beth Shalom and Temple Beth Israel? Temple Beth Israel here, and was it Temple Beth Am? I don't know. There's so many different temples. Is it Temple Beth Am in Seattle is where I got my confirmation. My bat mitzvah was here, was Temple Beth Israel, I think it was. Rabbi Rose. Point is that we were all liberal. He marched with Martin Luther King, Rabbi Rose. He marched with King. So I don't know what the hell happened to Israel, but it's not my country anymore. It's not the country I grew up. We were all a bunch of liberals. It's like, what happened? Who are you people? Where'd you come from? Burkas. We grew up with Bernie Sanders. What are you talking? Burka? We were talking veganism and world. It's just like, it's not, the country's changed. It's not the same group of people. It's really weird, to be honest with you. It's weird and scary and frightening. And it's really terrifying. And a lot of Jewish people feel like we don't have a home anymore. It's really scary. Okay. Zelensky. I hope Zelensky's not forced out. He's a great man. It's another reason that Putin had wanted to attack Israel was because Israel had come out in sympathy with Zelensky. And Zelensky was being backed by Abramov, right? He was being Aronofsky was funding him, which was the Russian oligarch. So that really pissed off Putin, right? So his revenge was to back October 7th. He didn't condemn October 7th and what Hamas did because he was probably a part of it. He probably knew it was happening. He was meeting with Hamas before the attacks. So that's the reason why things are really bad right now between Putin and Israel, and Zelensky being Jewish and being respected and liked in Israel has created tension in the relationship between Israel and Putin. So a lot of confusion right now over they're going to start bombing his industrial complex. I'm seeing attacks and bombings. They're going to be hitting his industries, his war making, his distilleries, his, where they make vodka, but they could be making other things. So you have these places where they distill vodka and then they're also making weapons. So the distillery gets bombed. I'm seeing a distillery. I'm specifically telling you that they're planning to bomb the distillery because they believe that explosive materials are being made, alcohol. But the concern is that they're also making other explosives at the point is they're going to be bombed. So you've got this major bombing and this need to defend Seven of Wands. But the opposition presents here as Ukraine with the Ten of Cups. Defense. People are trying to sabotage him, and I'm concerned about shocking bombings taking place in Kyiv that they're not expecting, that are going to be brutal. And this need to defend here. So that has me concerned. This is Ukraine. She carries the sunflower. Ten of Cups. She's united. If anyone's trying to take out Zelensky, it's not coming from Ukraine. It's coming from Russia. Yeah, I mean, Israel needs to ban the burqa. They want us in burqas in the back of the bus. They basically are Jewish Taliban. They admire the Taliban. They want to be the Taliban, and the Jewish Taliban is gaining power in Israel. these groups, they don't call themselves the Taliban, but religious, they're becoming more and crazier and crazier and crazier. But the law is called Kol Isha, and it's a woman's voice is said to sexually entice men, therefore you are not to have a voice. Just shut up. And if you say, well, I feel oppressed, or they say, no, we're doing it for your own good. We beat you to help you. We suppress you to help you. If you say, I just got banned recently from an Israeli group because they said I was making offensive statements because I pointed out that women's rights, we're now 80 out of 147 countries for human rights, women in the state of Israel. We're at 80. We were 10. Under Golda Meir, we were one of the most progressive, liberal countries in the world, and we were ranked 10 for women's rights. We surpassed the United States. That was how Israel started. Democratic socialist, right? Communist, building communes. Everybody was a comrade. Everybody was equal. There was no religion. It was just, how do we get the hell away from Russia? They'll get away from the Tsar, right? And so, yeah, people basically said, I don't know what you're talking about. Israel's great. Women are not being abused in Israel. There's no abuse. There's no sexism. Everything is great. And I just have to adjust my rose-colored glasses. And it was really interesting to get into that headspace because I realized that Israelis are just in complete denial. Can't sing, can't dance with a man. We can watch them sing. You're so amazing. You're so brilliant. You're so amazing. You're so amazing. You're so brilliant. May I come into your presence? What's your problem, Whimsy? We don't have a problem. There's no problem. There's no problem. I got a problem with that. All right. Judges start arresting DOJ attorneys. Ooh, gosh. I know a lot of them have quit. Woo! Complete confusion. There's no case. They don't know what's going on. Oh, there's an investigation starting. They don't know what to charge. The investigation is just starting. By the way, I wanted to point out that Trump started threatening people. He went on record making statements like he was going to kill people. And at that point, it causes an alert in DC. So in plainer words, Bondi has to quit because Bondi's getting death threats from Trump supporters. That's what I got last night for you guys in last night's remote was so, and I covered it a little bit in the video I did last night, but it felt like I when I popped into being Trump, I use HCRV, I felt very threatened, like you're really threatening me here. And I felt threatened to the point where I could kill somebody. And I'm letting people know how threatened I feel. So I have resources to kill people. I can go and tell my friends over at the Oath Keepers, I can't, this is why Kamala had a Glock, right? She was carrying, because these people are dangerous, right? When that woman had to testify against the Oath Keepers, I remote viewed her. I had to be on the ground. They had me on the ground, going down to the basement. I was at my, I think it was a family member's house. What was her name? Hutchinson, Harris, something like that. Started with an H. She was working for the chief, White House chief, Meadows. And she testified against him for January 6th. So being her was terrifying because prior to her speaking before Congress, I was under surveillance. And I couldn't be by windows. They were like, I was like down on the ground, going into the basement. They took over the location where I was at. And it was horrifying. It was a horrifying remote view. Cassidy Hutchinson, I called my sister. I said, I am deeply traumatized. I just was Cassidy Hutchinson. They had me on the down ground. Get down, get down. I was like, I'm a freaking normal person. I didn't expect to be in this situation. They had me down in the basement. I couldn't call friends that were worried about me. That was me as Cassidy. It was horrible, horrible, horrible. They were just freaked out. They wouldn't let me walk by a window. They felt like whoever was after me could peer in and see and locate that they had special sniper equipment. I literally, when I walked, they had me get down on the ground. There were 3 officers. It was horrible. One of the worst remote views. I was so upset I called my sister about it. I was told her what I saw, and she said, well, if it gives you any comfort, Cassidy did a great job. I'm like, well, I'm glad she did, because it was, for me, being her, it was terrible. Horrible. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that there's going to be legal action, because the Ace of Swords is moving in. Within the year, we'll see some legal action taking place. Yeah, wow. By the way, I was going to say, if you guys want to make a donation today, we donate our Sundays. I don't get paid for Sundays. So if you guys want to donate if you got anything out of today's reading, A Joyful Heart is our fundraiser. It's for women and children who are victims of domestic violence, to get them to safety and to get them on their feet. If you want to be a part of that, and if you can throw a couple bucks to our fundraiser, I'd be very appreciative. So thank you for that. All right. After Trump is gone, will ICE weed out MAGA supporters? Let's take a look. Are there any MAGA left? I heard they were leaving in droves, because all this stuff wound up on what's it called? 4chan? They're freaking out over there on 4chan. Yeah. I guess all the Epstein stuff that came out about Trump, it's causing MAGA's having some kind of a meltdown, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's having a meltdown. I don't know. I can't keep up with all these meltdowns. That's what they're saying. People are freaking out. Yes. Trump, you know what what they're saying here? This is the thing that's freaky about this vision. MAGA will take out Trump. Meditate on that. The people that created the monster will kill the monster. They not literally. We don't encourage violence here, but I mean, they will take down the thing that they have created, because 10 of Swords is to be betrayed. It is to be betrayed. A great healing is needed. Archangel Raphael comes in. He's moving on. He will be betrayed by his own. Yeah, Lindsay was drunk on. I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, last time I was in Israel with my best friend Aviva. The only reason I would go to Jerusalem now is to be with my best. I have one friend left. I have one friend left in Israel. Everybody else is. It's just sad. It's ended. All my relationships have ended. But the last time I showed you guys film footage, we went to the Machane Yehuda, and there were burqas. I saw not a lot of them, like a few here and there. And I was like, huh. And she was embarrassed. She's like, yeah, they're going into burqa. Some of the communities, they've chosen burqa. I'm like, oh my God, well, who are you? This is so far removed from the kibbutz, from the Zionism I was raised with, which was about integration, by the way. It wasn't about exclusion. We all got to live on kibbutz. That's why I built the Oasis program, so we could go back to the original plan. We're all gonna live together in peace, love, and harmony. No guns, right? So this is, and not a crazy religious stuff. That wasn't. So it's been really hard for me and other old-time liberal Zionists. We're Bernie Sanders, Golda Meir people. We can't. We're losing our baby to these nut jobs. I mean, Palestinian rights is another horrible thing that's going on. I totally agree about the concerns about Palestinian rights. I 100% agree. But even for you, that's what's happening to the Palestinians. But what's happening to Israelis because of this is also horrible. What's happening to women's rights is terrifying. It's horrible. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. Yeah. Religion is not about God. It's about control, oppression, and I'm better than you are and all that other crazy stuff. I don't know. How can MAGA take out Donald when they can't even admit error? Well, I think that the people that are trying to save this country will definitely take care of Donald. Yeah. 10 of Swords, that's when your own take you out. That's when you're stabbed in the back. And so that's, I believe, people within his own cabinet, people within his own community. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of them. She's turned on him, right? You look at some of the stuff that's come out with Marjorie Taylor Greene right now, coming out against Trump. Like, we didn't expect that to happen. So, according to Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is only going to get worse. That there's cracks, and the cracks are going to become far more pronounced. Jack Smith has the patience of a saint. I don't have the patience for justice. It takes too long. Right? Anybody besides me frustrated? Like, why is it taking so long? Why is justice taking so long? Right? Let's take a look at Jack Smith. I don't know why. Thank you, everyone who has donated to our charity today. We are raising money for victims of domestic violence. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah, they're taking Jack seriously. You can see there his opposition is getting the stabbed in the back. That's Trump. You can see he's not doing anything. He's already done his work. 4 of Swords, he's holding. His opposition, Trump, stabbed in the back. From his perspective, most of his job is done. I've already completed my work. 4 of Swords, I'm resting, I'm holding. My opposition, Trump, has been stabbed in the back. I'm ready to leave. 8 of Cups. My work here is done. Is that helping? I mean, does that help you, Joel? Final outcome for him? He's starting a new road. There's a new series of investigations starting in spring of 2026. You have the spring card. A new path is brought by Archangel Uriel, and Uriel is the Page of Wands. The Ali, the fire of the lion. No, he left it. He's starting a new project. Trump's finished. He already completed his work. Was he drunk? He might have been. Let's take a look. Sometimes you just have one too many. Well, I have sat as Miss Lindsay. And when I am out on the town, I dress very, very differently. The suits you see me in Congress, that is not the clothes I wear when I'm at having a drink at my favorite watering hole. This guy is a little bit more frilly. When he dresses, he can dress to the nines. Nice clothing, a little bit of frill. And I got my cocktail. I sit in the back. Nobody bothers me. I have my drink. And I dress to the nines. I dress well. That's Miss Lindsay on his days off. And I do like to drink. I have a special booth, a special place I like to sit. And I like to dress well, which is different than how I dress in the Senate. None of the readers, as offensive as it is, people get offended when we say Miss Lindsay. But the truth of the matter is, none of the readers that I've spoken to, he does not present as energetically male. He presents as female. He presents as the Queen of Wands. Clutch my pearls. This is a Southern matron with her pearls. And I believe that a lady should be a lady, and she should brush her hair, and she should respect herself, and she should dress appropriately. And I am that lady. That is who I am as Lindsey Graham. She's very stubborn. She's a stubborn woman. Queen of Cups. Queen of Wands, excuse me. I will see the thing done. Queen of Wands. My way or the highway. That's her energy. And she's going to do what she wants to do. You know, it's that kind of an energy. This is a spoiled Blanche Dubois. This is a spoiled Blanche Dubois. She will pledge allegiance to any strong man that is willing to take charge. And the card for J.D. Vance falls on Lindsey Graham's card. Lindsey Graham always presents as the Queen of Wands, never as a male, never. When is Lindsey Graham's birthday? Does anybody know when Lindsey Graham's birthday is? Can somebody look it up? July 9th. Cancerian. I bet that probably with some fire rising, I would think maybe a Leo rising with this individual. Loyal woman with J.D. Vance. She will leave her loyalty. Lindsay will leave loyalty to Trump because it's not about the man, it's about getting the job done. That is how this individual reconciles this situation. Well, he had to go because he didn't get the job done. And now I'm with J.D. Vance because he's a conservative, and I'm going to back a conservative candidate, and he's going to get the job done. That is how in my mind, I resolve the fact that Trump is gone. Trump is gone because he didn't get the job done. And I am loyal to the man who's doing the job and is getting the job done. That is how I feel as Lindsay. Yeah. So I would say he's probably not going to be loyal to this president for much longer. Yeah. So there's an eclipse. Did you guys hear about that? What are you guys thinking about the eclipse? I don't know much about it, but hopefully we will have our Joyce Pietras. She's an astrologer. I mean, she can hopefully talk about it on our show when we have Joyce on the show. She's our resident astrologer. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say about that. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the investigation is already done. From his perspective, he felt like, he had completed it. That's what the cards looked like. Yeah. I want her for AG or Supreme Court. And I agree with Kamala Harris that she would have more power on the Supreme Court than as the president, because judicial is equal to the presidency. We have 3 equal branches. And so if she were a Supreme Court judge, she could be there for 20 years. And so ultimately, she would have more power to change the screwed up system than if she was president. I think that people need to understand that Kamala would have far more power on the Supreme Court than she could have. On the Supreme Court, she's going to be blocked. Can you imagine? I mean, if she were, in the White House, everything would have been an executive order. Everything. She wouldn't have been protected the way she would if she was on the Supreme Court. They make the laws. Give us a Democratic majority and watch how we change things. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we should push for her to be, I don't think she's too old. She'll be 64. I don't feel that's too old. Even if she only serves 10 years, 10 years is still longer than 8. You know what I'm saying? So she's in good health. Give her the Supreme Court. Keep her in there as long as possible. That's what I'm saying. Okay, we'll do one more, you guys. Oh, hi, Debbie. Good to see you. Did you see the way Trump looked at Mamdani when he visited the White House? My feeling and Grok's feeling, is that Mamdani is going to encourage investigations into Trump businesses in New York, and that Trump is scared, and rightly so. Like, oh, good to see you. Yeah, he's all right. He's a good-looking guy. Yeah. And that I'm going to be pushing Alvin Braggs and Letitia James to go after you, and I'm going to just take you out. And so there's this hey, you're great. He's a good-looking guy. I think it's very obvious what's going on there. Let's take a look at Mamdani, how he's doing. Anybody in New York? How did he handle his first snowstorm? That's what everybody wants to know. How is Mamdani handling that first? You guys get the most wicked snowstorm. I know. I lived in New York for a couple of years. Those are some rough snowstorms. We wish him all the best. And I was right about Mamdani. I said the first thing he was going to do is make sure that no one gets evicted for the winter. And sure enough, that was the first thing he did. I got it right. Protecting those people that are vulnerable from losing their homes. You don't want to be out on the street in the middle of that bad weather. All right, let's do it. How is Mamdani doing? You gonna make it, buddy? You're gonna be a mayor for all New Yorkers. Yeah, we got smooth water. There you go. Major changes going on here. Oh, they've got a new transportation system. I just got the feed coming in. You guys are getting. They want to overhaul your guys' subway system on some of the major lines. Some of the major lines are getting an overhaul. Good for you. I didn't know that. That just came through on feed. He's trying to win the hearts of all New Yorkers. He said he has a message, Mamdani, for New Yorkers. He said he's very patient, that he knows that Everybody's going to love him in time. He says, I grow on people. This is what Mom Donnie says. I grow on people. Eventually, I'm going to win you over. Eventually, you're going to like me. We don't like you because we don't like you, but I'm going to win you over. 6 of Cups. I'm going to get you. Be patient, temperance. You're going to be liking me when this whole thing is over. 7 of Wands. Defending his turf, his territory, his family. Inability to let it go. Conflict over the change. He fears being controlled. And he will develop strong. If he can develop strong partnerships, it will go better for him in New York. Yes, those 2 of Wands, you want that to come in. And patience and 6 of Cups. He's a bit of a flirt. He's got that flirt thing going on. And I'm going to get those partnerships. I'm going to make this happen. 6 of Swords, I'm going to drive this ship where it needs to go. 7 of Wands, I'm going to defend my territory. His opposition will not let it go. There are major issues you need to address. So, but he's doing better than I had thought. I thought it was going to be harder for him, but it looks like he is starting to develop some really good connections, which is good for New York. You want what's best for New York, right? Awesome. I love it. Yeah, that's so interesting. Let's check that out. Has Lindsey Graham ever dressed like Liberace? Let me see if I can find anything of him dressed. Lindsey Graham dressed up. We can say dressed up. Yeah, he had that Liberace thing going on. He was very styling. He was very handsome. And I thought, wow, this is not a part of you I've ever seen before. It's like, it's completely different than how he presents himself in the Senate. Yeah, it's like a fancy, he had like ruffles and stuff. Yeah, but I don't see anything here. Yeah, too bad. Too bad no one's photographed him looking like that when he's dressed to the nines. But yeah, he really looked good. It was like, damn, buddy, you clean up good. I never see you dressed like that. He had like the frills and the thing and the watch, and he had the cocktail, and he had his little booth in that bistro he likes to go to. Quiet, unassuming. Oh, who do you like that everybody has a bad day? Oh, I don't know. Everybody has a bad day. I've had bad days. I've had bad days when I had vestibular migraine and hadn't eaten for 5 days and began hallucinating on YouTube, right? I've done that twice. So no one's perfect. No one's perfect. Yes, as long as you vote Democrat, right? All right, you guys are amazing. Thank you all for your love and support. Thank you so much for donating to our charity, A Joyful Heart, raising money for women and children seeking safe shelter and a new life, domestic violence survivors. All right, if you need to see me as a reader for a consult, then you can book me through Booksy, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, and we do medical consults, intuitive medical. We can draw something up for you. We do Vedic charts, astrology, tarot reading, consults, all of that stuff, all that information is below this video. Okay, folks, I think that's all we have for you today. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much. All right. Bye.